Mahora Academy. This is where the magic happens. Literally. It's the central location of Mahou Sensei Negima. This is the school that Neji teaches at, and where all the main characters attend. But it isn't just a featureless backdrop for the series. Unlike, say, Konoha, which is more or less just a normal village that just happens to have a bunch of ninjas living in it, Mahora itself actually has a lot going on. I'm Akari, and today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Mahora Academy. The first thing that really stands out about Mahora is the size, because this place is absolutely massive. They call it a school, but that's not totally accurate. It's more like a small city. That's because it's more than just the one school. All the main characters go to Mahora Middle School, but there's also a Mahora Elementary School, a high school, and even a Mahora University. Beyond the schools and the dormitories, there are clothing stores, coffee shops, and even a church. And of course, it's all centered around the school. My sister went away for college, and the experience was kind of similar. Everyone in town was either a student or worked at the school, or was related to someone who worked at the school. And it's the same thing here. But of course, Mahora isn't just an ordinary school city. It's secretly the headquarters of the Kantou Magic Association. The principal, Kanoe, is the leader of the Kantou Magic Association, and most of the teachers there are professional mages. But all the students are just normal girls. For the most part. Though there is a vampire, and a ghost, and a demon, but the point is, it's still presented as a normal school. They teach math and science, not magic. And with the exception of Neji's class, it consists mostly of normal students. It might seem really weird that they wouldn't just make their base a magic school, but magic isn't common knowledge, and the mages still need a base to work out of. So the school could just be a cover, like they're hiding in plain sight. And I'm sure that's part of the reason, but it is a legitimate school. I covered this a little in my Magister Magi video, but the job of mages is to help people in need. Mahora and Meridiana are connected to non-government organizations that provide disaster relief and humanitarian efforts all over the world. So I think giving kids a good education is just another way of helping humanity. It is a proper school, but the teachers are constantly skipping class to save lives in developing countries, which might explain why 3A has such bad grades. Takahata is one of the strongest mages in the school, so he probably gets called away the most. Most of the time, they probably just have a free period, or a crappy substitute teacher. It's no wonder they always come in last place. You're probably thinking that it is extremely irresponsible to have regular students attend a school that's also a massive military target. But that isn't the case at all. There is a powerful barrier around the school that keeps out demons, spirits, and presumably any enemy mages. So it's perfectly safe. For the most part. I mean, there was that one time Harriman got in and kidnapped Asuna, and that other time that Chow managed to set it down entirely and bring in these demon giants that she was controlling. And there may or may not be a fully grown dragon in the basement, but other than that, it's totally safe. This barrier is actually what keeps Evangeline's magic sealed away. She says that Nagi sealed her magic, but that's not entirely true. The spell Nagi cast on her, Attendance Perdition, just prevents her from leaving the school grounds. The point of the spell is to force truants to attend school. But because the barrier rejects things like vampires, while she's inside, her magic and vampire abilities are heavily suppressed, and she can't leave it because of Attendance Perdition. That's why, even when she shut the barrier down and got all her powers back, she still couldn't leave the school. Because those are two separate things. Oh, yeah, and Evangeline also shut the barrier down once. Still totally safe, I promise. But why would they build a school here in the first place? Granted, there were wizards in Japan already, but as far as I can tell, they're all in Kansai. That's not to imply that the mages from Kanto aren't Japanese. I'm pretty sure they are. At the very least, no one mentions anything about them potentially being foreign. But they all seem to use Western magic, and we know Mahora has ties to Meridiana in Wales, where Neji studied. This sort of implies that the first kantou mages immigrated from the West. So the question is, why did Europe send a bunch of mages halfway across the world to set up a major base of operations at some random spot in Japan? The answer is the World Tree. The World Tree is, well, it's a giant tree. No one really knows where it came from. It's just a naturally occurring skyscraper-sized tree that apparently generates its own mana. Mahora seems to have been built around the World Tree, which makes total sense. If you found a naturally occurring nuclear reactor, you might want to put something over it. Personally, my first choice would probably be a wall or a fortress, but I guess a school works too. The Magic Association probably wanted to keep tabs on the World Tree, or make sure no one else could use its power against them. So they built a base around it, and then turned it into a school, cause mages help people. I admit that's all complete speculation. For all I know, the Kanto Mage Association was always there. And one day they were just like, hey, what do you think we should build our school? I don't know, how about next to that giant glowing tree that's clearly radiating magic? Sure, we're extremely... Yeah, that's probably what happened. Anyway, the World Tree is really powerful. Most of the time, it's just a regular colossal tree. But once every 22 years, during the school festival, the tree glows and floods the entire campus with magic energy. For these 3 days, using magic around the school becomes much easier because of the high concentration of mana. That's really the only thing that happens on those first 2 days, but on the third day, the tree starts responding to people's desires and will actually grant their wishes. It is particularly sensitive to wishes about love and romance. There are 6 spots around the World Tree where its power is especially strong. If someone confesses their love in one of these spots, then the World Tree will magically force the other person to fall in love with them. Which is probably a point in the "we shouldn't have built a school here" column. When Norika asked Neji for a kiss, it turned him into a mindless drone who would do anything to kiss her. Which, now that I say it out loud, sounds a lot less funny and more problematic. It is worth noting that this happens on the second day, when the magic shouldn't have been strong enough for that yet. The only reason he turns into the Kissing Terminator is because right before this, Neji used supplementary magic on himself, which boosted the tree's effects. But on the third day, this kind of thing can happen to anyone. Mahora sees this as a problem, for obvious reasons, so during the festival, all the magic teachers run around trying to prevent the students from confessing in those spots. Again, I get why they do it, but I also feel like you could avoid this problem entirely by just having the festival on different days. They can't be around to confess if they're stuck in class. Although, now that I think about it, most people would probably just cut class to the giant glowing tree anyway. I guarantee they tried that for a few years and it was a total disaster. I guess if they hold the festival at the same time, at least then the teachers can watch them and make sure they don't wander into those areas. Not a perfect system, but it works well enough. The World Tree also isn't the only place like this. There are 12 similar places worldwide. We don't know anything about these places or even where they are, but I assume they all have some kind of facility around them. There's probably one at Meridiana. We know the headmaster of Meridiana is good friends with Konoemon. Maybe that's because they run similar facilities. It might seem grossly negligent to paint a target on your school, especially when the oldest students there are only about 11 years old, but I refer you back to Mahora. At least here, the kids know magic, so they could defend themselves a little bit. Remember when I said they should have built a fortress around the World Tree? Well, they kind of did, or at least under it, because that's what Library Island essentially is. It's the largest library in the world, with books on any topic you could imagine. It was built at the same time as Mahora, in the Meiji era, between 1868 and 1912, and has expanded tremendously since then. During World War II, rare and valuable books from all over the world were moved there for safekeeping. As the collection grew, the library expanded underground, and traps were installed to keep out intruders and safeguard its contents. We don't really know anything else about its origins, but it could have been made to research the world tree, because it is literally right under it. The lower floors actually intertwine with the roots of the world tree, and its magic will still linger there for a few days after the festival ends. Of course, the library is strictly off limits to students, except for the Library Island Exploration Club. Yeah, there's an actual club dedicated to exploring it. Now you might think that that's just a lawsuit waiting to happen, but don't worry, the middle school club isn't allowed to go past the third sub-basement, where all the traps are already deactivated. I mean, there's nothing that actually prevents them from going any further, like, I don't know, a locked door, but I guess they work on the honor system. And it's not just normal books there either. We know there's at least one magic book down there, with a pair of giant stone golems to guard it. But Alberio has also set up his resort there, with a dragon to guard the entrance. And then there's this thing. We never find out what this platform is, but Neji suggests that it might be used to gather the World Tree's magic power. Which does make sense if it was originally meant to be a research facility for the World Tree. But he is just guessing. We never actually get any confirmation. But look at it real close. Now look at the gate port in the magic world. They're almost identical. That's right. I think this was meant to be another gate port. Did you notice we never actually see them return to Earth after the Magic World arc? We know they secured the gate port in the ruins of Old Ostia, but we don't know where it connects to. I think this has to be the other side of that portal. It makes sense. The Ostian gate port was abandoned when the capital fell, and this place looks pretty abandoned too. But hey, that's just a theory. Wait, I already made that joke. But that's pretty much all the important locations in the academy, besides the church. Yeah, there's also a church on campus. I don't know if this is common in Japan, but from an American perspective, this seems super weird. At first, I thought maybe the church was just located nearby and had a lot of students who go there. But no, when all the magic teachers are assembled, Sister Shakti is right there with them, so the church is 100% employed by Mahora. The church's basement is actually the main headquarters for the Magic Association. They have anti-magic holding cells and interrogation room, and it connects to Library Island. Though I guess technically it's a convent, not a church, since its inhabitants are nuns. Well, I call them nuns, but they dress like this. I mean, I don't think nuns typically run around in miniskirts, but hey, what do I know? But like I said a minute ago, the head nun, Sister Shakti, is a magic teacher. I don't think she actually teaches a class. I'm pretty sure she just runs the church. But when Mahora is threatened, Shakti and the other nuns are usually the first ones to respond. Which is interesting, because they seem to be made up of students, like Misora and Kokone. While Konoemon will sometimes ask students to help them out, like when he asked Setsuna and Mana to help with the confessions during the school festival, they don't actually work for the school. They're just students that just happen to be really badass. Remember, there are actual magic students, like Takane or Sakura, but they didn't study magic at Mahora. They actually went to magic school in America, but there seems to be a group of students that are explicitly trained as mages and sent on missions for the school. So even if by some miracle the barrier goes down, or the dragon gets out, or the world tree brainwashes someone, then these incredibly brave, capable nuns will... Hey, Misora, where are you going? Hey, hey, hey! In Yuki Holder, Mahora Academy is still around. Only now it's called Amano Mihashira Academy. But we can still clearly see the world tree in the background, so we know it's the same school. And it seems to be co-ed now. But the biggest change is Library Island. Now Nikitas is in charge of it, and he really fixed up the place. It's not in ruins anymore, and it's open for business. There are actual patrons now, although they're probably all demons. He also calls it the Acacia Book Labyrinth, so I guess that's its official name, and maybe humans have just forgotten it. But that's everything you need to know about Mahora Academy. That doesn't involve spoilers anyway. But that's all I got for you today. Don't forget to hit that like button before you go, and maybe hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. Alright, keep being awesome, and I'll see you all in the next one.